thank you for honoring our invitation to this joint press conference to be addressed by the Honorable Ministers of Defense, the General Bashir Magashi, Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, as well as Police Affairs, Mohammed Dingyadi, and to be moderated by me, the Minister of Information and Culture. This is the first in a series of briefings that we hope to make a regular event in the face of the security challenges facing our great nation. At today's briefing, the Honorable Minister of Defense will speak first, followed by the Honorable Minister of Police Affairs, and then the Honorable Minister of Interior will then take your questions. As you are all aware, the issue of security has dominated our national discourse in recent times, against the background of terrorism, banditry, and kidnapping in the Northeast, Northwest, and North Central, separatist violence, and crude oil theft in the Southeast and South-South, as well as causing armed robbery and sundry crimes in the Southwest. Today, we are here to tell you that while we may not be there yet, our military and other security agencies have succeeded and are succeeding in substantially restoring security across the nation. As far as the daunting security challenges we face are concerned, we can tell you that the worst is over, and never again will terrorists and bandits and their cohorts hold sway in our country. As I said at a summit organized by the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations in Abuja on August 23, 2022, President Mohammed Dingyadi's directive to the military to crush those terrorizing our citizens is working. Hence, peace and security are gradually being restored to the country. Let me quote Mr. President himself on his directive to the military. Judging by the available reports to me and news that have begun emerging in the last few days, I will say they have had this instruction and they are responding appropriately. In the past couple of days, you must have heard about the number of terrorists neutralized by the military and number of hostages freed. These efforts will not stop or reduce. We must take the fight to the terrorists and demonstrate that there's no hiding place for them within the borders of our country. Each one of them will be hunted and pursued and spoken to in the language that they understand. End of quote. These are great words of assurance coming directly from the President and Commander-in-Chief himself. The security challenges we have faced as a government have been daunting, from terrorism to banditry, to kidnapping, to separatist violence, to crude oil theft, to armed robbery and sundry crimes. It's undoubtedly the greatest challenge to the peace and security of our great country since the Civil War of 1967 to 1970. It is the kind of challenge that would have overwhelmed many nations. But thanks to the purposeful leadership of President Mohammed Dingyadi, we can say, I want to repeat, that the worst is over, and peace and security are gradually returning to the land. Please don't misunderstand or misrepresent this assertion. We may still witness isolated cases of security challenges here and there, but it will not be on the scale that we've witnessed in the past. We want to use this opportunity to salute Mr. President for his leadership. When many threw their arms up in the air and felt it was all over, the President remained resolute, focused, and confident. When many called for the use of foreign mercenaries to tackle the challenges, especially terrorism and banditry, the President never wavered in his belief and confidence in the ability of our gallant men and women in uniform to rise to the occasion. And rise to the occasion they did. Some said the security challenges have overwhelmed the military, but the military has now demonstrated that no group of ragtag criminals can ever overwhelm them. Terrorists and bandits and co can run, but cannot hide. And this has been demonstrated by the arrest of those who attacked the church in Abuja. These criminals can run, but cannot hide, as we have seen in the decimation and neutralization of the cowards who ambushed the brigade of guards troops in Abuja. I'm sure you will hear more from my colleagues how our military and other security agencies have been decimating the third echelon of Islam and Boko Haram, how armed bandits' camps and resources have been destroyed, and how the capacity of Irabor and ESN has been substantially degraded. Please note that whereas in conventional warfare, the parties can declare a truce or cessation of hostilities upon reaching an agreement, it is not the same for the kind of unconventional warfare that our military has been fighting in recent years. We are therefore not saying that the battle is over. No. What we are saying is that our military and other security agents have been able to contain the daunting security challenges we face, and that the worst is indeed over. We have now put the terrorists, the bandits, and the ilks on the run, and will not relent until they will be finally crushed. Gentlemen, please permit me to use this opportunity to commend all the men and women of our military, police, Nigerian security and civil defense force, immigration, customs, Nigerian correctional service, intelligence agencies, etc., for their sacrifice and patriotism. May I also appeal to all our compatriots to continue to support the security agencies in their onerous task of keeping our country safe. We must also realize that security is the business of everyone. Hence the tagline, if you see something, say something. Terrorists or bandits are not spirits. They are human beings. And some of them reside in our communities. They must all be exposed and crushed for peace to reign. Finally, I want to commend the media for continuing to carry out its constitutionally mandated watchdog role in this regard. May I, however, call on the media to also endeavor to give a bigger play to the recent successes recorded by our security agencies in tackling terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, separatist violence, and oil theft, amongst others. Just as they have given prominence in the reporting of security challenges at their peak. It is instructive that when the terrorists and bandits strike, they get very prominent mention in the media. But when the security agencies hit them back, as they are doing now, a section of the media suddenly goes quiet. This is not helpful for the morale of the fighting forces and even for the citizens. I thank you all for your kind attention. I will now call on the Honorable Minister of Defense to make his presentation. Thank you very much.
Which is facilitated by the Honorable Minister of Information and Culture. I will approach this brief with the assumption that the press gathered here today have an understanding of the asymmetric nature of the essential threats which the armed forces of Nigeria is combating. Of course, with Nigerian police and other security agencies as stakeholders. We must recall that in an insurgency or asymmetric operational environment, such as the counter-terrorism, counter-insurgency, anti-kidnapping, and anti-banditry, the key terrain is not any physical space, but the loyalty and perception of the people who inhabit that space. Also of note that counter-terrorism and counter-insurgency is not a fair fight, that the terrorists have no responsibility, unlike the government and its institutions, and as such, they are free to employ any tricks or tactics, no matter how dastardly. So each new asymmetric threat arises in its own context to present fresh set of operational challenges. So leveraging on the experiences and gains of our involvement in counter-terrorism and counter-insurgency, especially in the Northeast, the successes recorded across all theaters of operation in recent times has been very noteworthy. Of course, all this is in furtherance to our constitutional imperatives to enthrone peace, security all over the country. The Armed Forces of Nigeria is currently conducting several operations all over the country, as well as peace operations in some countries, with the recent being the Republic of Guinea-Bissau. This must not, however, be misconstrued to mean that there are crises all over this country. The contemporary threats environment is such that a single terrorist bandit or band of terrorists, even though completely isolated in remote rural places, can conduct a terrorist campaign. Terrorism by itself has far less value than the publicity that it generates. It is on this basis that this brief will cover ongoing military efforts across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, as well as Nigerian participation in peace operations in the Republic of Guinea-Bissau. Let's begin with Northeast. The counter-terrorism and counterinsurgency operation against Boko Haram and Islamic State of West African provinces in the northeast, now known as Operation Haɗin Kai, has undergone series of reorganization, restructuring, and resourcing to make it more potent. The strengths of operational successes recorded by the armed forces of Nigeria in the northeast have thus continued from January through August 2022. The exhalations of the troops of Operation Haɗin Kai of recent by well-meaning individuals as well as reputable internal and international bodies attest to the far-reaching military achievements recorded in the Northeast. Critical military objectives of total defeats of the terrorists in the Northeast is already being achieved. Synchronized group and air operations have continued to inflict huge casualties on the terrorists, and they have been forcing many of them, including their commanders and emirs, to surrender in droves with members of their families. Whilst areas where terrorists hitherto had some freedom of actions are being cleared, and socio-economic life is gradually returning to the most parts of the Northeast. As while internal displaced persons are now returning to their ancestral homes to start life all over in dignity, under safe and more secure environment. Generally, in the past 4 weeks, more than 3,407 Boko Haram terrorists, including members of their families, have surrendered. Additionally, 66 terrorists were neutralized, including one of their key ISWAP commanders, Alhaji Madu Chaka Bemben, and 20 of his fighters, while 55 were arrested and 22 civilians were rescued. Also, troops recovered large quantities of ammo and illicit drugs. Similarly, we have surrendered terrorists, have been subjected to profiling and relevant legal processes. Let me use this opportunity to address the unfortunate murder of Sheikh Mohammed Guni Asiami, involving 2 soldiers of 241 Iraqi battalion in Unguru in Yobe State. The reprehensive act is highly condemnable and negates the efforts of the entire armed forces in all its ramifications. Therefore, the armed forces strongly disassociates itself from the Disorderly Act and extend its sincere condolence to the families and people of Yobe State. Consequently, the 2 soldiers have been charged and dismissed from the Nigerian Army and handed over to the Nigerian police for further interrogation and prosecution. I therefore reiterate the commitment of purging the armed forces of any personnel of questionable character that will bring disrepute to the armed forces, to the country. In the Northwest Zone, Armed Forces of Nigeria has launched 2 operations, namely Joint Task Force Operation Hadirin Daji and Operation wild punch to cover the northwest zone and parts of north central zone, respectively. Operation Hadirin Daji covers Sokoto, Kebbi, Zamfara, and Katsina states. The prevalent threats include kidnapping for ransom in remote villages and along highways, attacks on commuters, violent attacks on villages, livestock rustling, and banditry, among others. Within the last few weeks, however, the sequences of ground and air operations have been very devastating on several bands of the terrorists. During the operations, many terrorists were neutralized, including a high-profile terror leader who was on a wanted list of the military. His name is Alhaji Abdul Karim Lawan, and 27 of his gang, as well as others arrested, while several bandits camps were also cleared. Also, several kidnapped victims were rescued and many rescued animals recovered. Military operations in the areas are now forcing hardened leaders of the terrorist group to surrender and embrace peace in the northwest zone. These operations will continue in greater intensity with the aim of restoring peace, security, law and order to all the operational areas. Similarly, Operation Wild Punch covers Kaduna and Niger states. The operation was recently reorganized to also cover the critical Abuja-Kaduna Expressway, which had a defunct standby alone operation codenamed Operation Thunder Strike. It is pertinent to note that a huge volume of more than 30,000 vehicles ply the expressway on weekends and about 50,000 vehicles during weekdays, which highlights the social economic importance of Kaduna-Abuja highway. Additionally, as part of the Operation Wild Punch, a subsidiary operation codenamed Operation Forest Sanity has also been launched to flush out the terrorists from the forest that straddle Kaduna and Niger states. These efforts were geared towards flushing out criminal elements from the Kaduna-Abuja Expressway and its environs. I am pleased to inform that Kaduna Expressway has been secured through a combined efforts of the armed forces, the police, and other security agencies. In this regard, ground operations supported by air assets have resulted in several terrorists being neutralized, including the notorious Alhaji Shadonu, with 20 of his gang members with weapons, equipment destroyed, while suspected terrorists were arrested. Additionally, large quantity of weapons, vehicles, equipment were recovered, while 53 kidnapped civilians were rescued. In the North Central Zone, the prevalent security threats in the North Central Zone of Nigeria are hardest farmers' conflicts, wanton attacks and killing of rural villages, livestock rustling, kidnapping for ransom, and banditry, among others. There are therefore 2 military operations being conducted in the North Central Zone to deal with the security threat, codenamed Operation Safe Haven and Operation Wild Stroke. Due to a measure of security threats around the satellite towns of the Federal Capital Territory, there have also been military operations conducted periodically to clear the criminals from the environment. Operation Safe Haven covers Plateau states as well as part of Kaduna and Bauchi states, which is bordering the Plateau state. The nature of the security threats in the operational area dictates employment of both kinetic and non-kinetic means of operation by Operation Safe Haven. That is to deal with the different security issues. Whilst the kinetic military operations are deployed to defeat violent and criminal security threats, community engagements and town hall meetings are employed to deconflict hostile relationships between mostly herders and farmer communities. This pronged approach, with constant watch over the environment, have helped to make the operational area safer for social economic activities to strive. During the period under review, several kidnappers' hideouts were raided in Kaduna and Plateau states, and 4 notorious kidnappers were arrested with assorted weapons. More so, 8 suspected terrorists were arrested in Gwagwalada Area Council of Abuja, as well as weapons and large quantities of items suspected to be cannabis sativa were also recovered. Operation Wild Stroke covers Benue, Nasarawa, and Taraba states. The operation was launched to address security challenges arising from herders-farmers conflict, which soon assumed other violent and criminal enterprises like kidnapping for ransom, wanton attacks on villages, and livestock rustling, among others. Again, the activities of Operation Wild Stroke have continued to make the environment safer for the citizens to pursue their dreams. In the South Zone, crude oil theft, illegal refining of petroleum products, vandalism of pipelines, sea piracy, kidnapping for ransom, militancy, and environmental degradation are amongst the potent threats in the South Zone of Nigeria. Accordingly, Operation Delta Safe is being conducted in the South-South and parts of the Southeast geographical zone to protect the nation's oil and gas industries, which is the mainstay of Nigeria's economy. Apart from Operation Delta Safe, the Nigerian Navy also conducts operations as part of its mandate to guarantee the security and integrity of Nigeria's maritime environment from the violation of any criminal enterprise. The combined efforts of Operation Delta Safe and the Nigerian Navy has continued to make the country to be more prosperous while facilitating a safer, healthier environment in the South Zone. By far, the most notable operation achieved in the South during the period under review was the prevention of crude oil theft worth more than $500 million over the past 4 months. The encounter of motor tanker Heroic Idum with the Nigerian Navy ship Gongola in Akpo oil field deep offshore Guinea waters is well known to all of you because a press conference was held in this regard. Another operational milestone achievement is that for the first time, no single incidence of piracy was recorded in our waters in the 1 full year of operation. Notwithstanding the past 4 weeks, however, several illegal refinery sites, which consist of 493 dugout pits, 512 storage tanks, 413 cooking ovens, and 59 wooden boats were destroyed. Additionally, several weapons, vehicles, vessels, and equipment were recovered, and about 25,800 barrels of crude oil, 3,200 liters of petroleum motor spirit, and 2,000 liters of dual-purpose kerosene were recovered during the operation, while 21 pipeline bundles were arrested. The Southeast Zone, the violent and criminal activities of indigenous people of Biafra and its arm wing, the Eastern Security Network, present the greatest threat in the Southeast Zone. However, kidnapping for ransom, armed banditry, communal clashes have been some of the security threats that bedevil the region. Accordingly, joint military operations are being conducted in the Southeast to overcome the threats and to entrench peace and security. The military effort, in collaboration with other security agencies, are achieving the set objectives, which are the defeat of the threat and restoration of peace and security in the region. The recent notable operational achievement in the Southeast was the arrest of members of Irabor in Ebonyi State and the recovery of dangerous ammunition and equipment, as well as motorcycles and ballistic materials. In the Southwest Zone, the Southwest Zone is most peaceful, most peaceful part of the country, although recent terrorist activities have tended to redefine the situation in the region. However, cases of kidnapping for ransom, armed robbery, pipeline vandalism and petroleum product thefts, cultism, and smuggling have occasionally constituted a security threat in that zone. Accordingly, Operation Awazi is being conducted mostly in Lagos and Ogun states to deal with the menace of pipeline vandalism and petroleum product thefts, as well as sea robbery. It is to be noted that military formations are located all over the Southwest, just like any other zone. Hence, while not being part of Operation Tawazi, these formations also collaborate with other security agencies to maintain security within their respective environment. Such collaboration finds expression in the recent arrest of Kuje Custodial Center SKP and other terrorists in Ondo states by the military personnel and the Department of State Service. Also significant during the period under review was the arrest of 6 suspected gunmen, including the mastermind responsible for the unfortunate Church massacre, which occurred on 5th July 2022. The suspects include Idris Abdulmalik Omezi, Momo Atubu Abubakar, Alhaji Yusufu Itoba, and Awal Isiaq Onimisi. The suspect shall be paraded in due course to the general public on completion of the ongoing investigation. Other operational achievements in the Southwest in the period under review include the recovery of 1,542 jerrycans filled with premium motor spirit, 311 bags of 50 kg foreign rice, and a truck loaded with substance suspected to be cannabis sativa. So far, this is the situation in all the zones. Nigeria's participation in peacekeeping operation in the Republic of Guinea-Bissau. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the history of peacekeeping in Africa cannot be written without the commitment and sacrifices of Nigeria. The first contingent of Nigerian peacekeepers were deployed in 1960, shortly after our independence. And since then, Nigeria has contributed over 100,000 peacekeepers in over 40 peacekeeping missions in Africa and across the globe. I must say with pride that our peacekeepers have had to resort peace in many conflict areas around the globe, which has earned Nigeria many national, individual commendations from several nations. It is for this reason Nigeria was called upon as part of ECOWAS contingent to deploy to Guinea-Bissau under the auspices of the ECOWAS Stabilization Support Force after the coup attempt in February 2020 in that country. The contingent comprised of troops from Nigeria, Senegal, Ghana, and Ivory Coast, and were given 1 year renewable mandate to stabilize the country. Accordingly, Nigeria has currently deployed over 300 officers and soldiers, as well as Nigerian ship NNS Kada and her crew members for the mission in Guinea-Bissau. The federal government of Nigeria has remained committed to the peace support operation to maintain peace in the Republic of Guinea-Bissau and will continue to remain the beacon of peace and stability in West African sub-region. Gentlemen, in conclusion, as we continue to gain experience in the asymmetric operational environment, We would like to review our process based on components of fighting power, which are conceptual, physical, and moral. Doctrines are being formulated as tactics, techniques, and procedures are constantly reviewed to meet up and overcome the evolving asymmetric threats. With the utmost support of the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria, President Muhammad Buhari, modern platforms and equipment are being procured for the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Navy, and the Nigerian Air Force, whilst recruitment and quality training and retraining is being carried out. With respect to the moral component, the welfare of fighting troops is being enhanced across the services, while ensuring that enthusiastic commanders with requisite experiences are given the responsibility to command. We will continue to ensure efficient integration of the three independent components for the best operational outcomes, leading to the restoration of peace and security all over the country. Let me at this juncture reassure this extreme gathering and indeed Nigerians that the Ministry of Defense and the Armed Forces, in conjunction with security agencies, remain committed and resolute in our collective efforts to facilitate the federal government drives for guaranteeing the peace, the safety of lives and property across the country. In addition, this present administration is doing everything possible to ensure the safety and security of all citizens. I therefore urge all Nigerians to support the Armed Forces of Nigeria in its efforts towards ensuring the security to the nation. The Ministry of Defense is fully on top of the situation, and all hands are on deck to ensure these threats are contained. Thank you all for your attention.
By way of introduction, the Nigerian Police Force has been involved in an active coalition of intelligence necessary for effectively subduing elements responsible for security threats within the society. And today, I shall make effort to showcase some of the achievements in the fight against rogue elements of society and their nefarious activities. By and large, the security situation in Nigeria has been reasonably stable, in spite of activities of unpatriotic elements engaged in various criminal activities around the country. Daily situation reports coming in from states within the period under review, that is to say about 2 months ago, it has shown relative peace on many of our highways, such as Abuja, Kaduna Birnin Gwari, Sokoto, Zamfara, Kaduna, and many other similar highways that were hitherto inflicted with armed robbery, banditry, and kidnapping. This is as a result of the massive deployment of operational hardware and police personnel on these highways. it is vital to state that the near total absence of patriotism on the part of most citizens in their failure to report promptly cases of threat to security, as well as the occasional lapse in criminal justice system to effectively sanction offenders, contribute to the better security challenges in Nigeria. Crimes have assumed a fluid nature such that it is becoming increasingly difficult to geolocate crimes. We find that there is a general similarity in the pattern of crimes across the 6 geopolitical zones in the country. Armed robbery, kidnapping, unlawful possession of firearms, acts of terrorism happen in all the states of the Federation. However, for want of time, a highlight on our operational achievements using selected states in each geopolitical zone is highlighted on the screen for reference purposes. I don't know whether it is on the screen. I think it is not yet there. We have tried to select a state per zone because I'm using with the 10 minutes given to me by the chairman of this gathering. We took Borno in Northeast, and you can see from what is there, about 118 suspects of arrested for terrorism and carbon homicide, kidnapping, vandalization, and other crimes were arrested. 156 ammunition of various caliber were also recovered. 248 dangerous weapons were also recovered. Cash total sum of 893,000 naira were also recovered. 683 parcels of Indian hemp, 21 tramadol sachets, and 400 pieces of exo were also recovered. In the northwest, we have tried to pick Zamfara State, where about 90 criminal suspects were arrested, 720 ammunition of various calibers were also recovered. 9 assaulted rifles, 10 motorcycles, 112 kidnapped victims were also rescued, 200 cattle were recovered, and on 30th August 2022, operatives of 42 PMF Squadron Gusau on joint operations with Vigilant Dingyadi, Dajan Kari, Ukanka Forest, successfully rescued 12 kidnapped victims, including 5-month-old baby girl from Rongawa village in Talata Mafara. Still on the screen, we took Niger from North Central State, where 40 suspects were arrested. They were arrested for kidnapping, banditry, and other criminalities. 500 cattle were also recovered. 71 handsets were recovered. On July 9th, 2022, police operatives from patrol around Bakaso area of Suleja arrested a Kojeka Solar Center SKP, one Kazim Murtala, age 54. The suspect confessed that he escaped from the Kojeka Center during the jailbreak. In the southwest, we randomly picked Ondo State, where 7 kidnapped suspects were also arrested. 6 murder suspects were arrested. 21 armed robbery suspects were also arrested. 3 child stealing suspects were arrested. That is for Ondo State. From the south, we just picked Delta State. You can see the records of achievements so far reported in Delta. 181 criminal suspects were arrested. 56 firearms, various caliber were also recovered. 2,041 ammunition of various calibers were also arrested. 12 kidnapped victims were rescued. 14 improvised explosive devices were also denoted. 14 motor vehicles were also recovered. From the southeast, we were also able to arrest 114 criminal suspects. 24 kidnapped victims were also rescued and hurt. 69 firearms of different caliber were also recovered. 317 ammunition of different calibers were also recovered. On 11th and 12th of August 2022, operatives raided suspected Irabor Eastern camp in a forest at Abuja in Enugu Izeke community of Igbo Eze North Local Government Area. Neutralized 1, recovered 16 firearms, 162 rounds of ammunition, 8 motor vehicles, 20 motorcycles with Irabor flag, other incriminating exhibits, and estimation of corpse of a police officer who went missing on 30th July. We have these records for all the states in the zones, but for want of time, we just came with these examples. Our response to crimes. In other words, what steps have we taken to achieve these successes? And by the way, these reports are there, even though they are not just for sharing, but we just thought we should come along with some of them in case there may be need for us to distribute them. But we have tried to cover all the states of the Federation, highlighting the record that we have so far achieved. So our response to crimes, the Ministry of Police Affairs under my watch has been instrumental to strengthen the Nigerian police force to tackle challenges in the internal security architecture of the nation. To effectively achieve its mandate to protect lives and property within Nigeria, the Nigerian police have deployed operational intelligence and the ICT-based apparatus to tackle and stem the tide of crimes and criminality. Some of these efforts include the maximization of the Force Intelligence Bureau, Intelligence Response Team, and Special Tactical Squads. 2. Digitalization of emergency contacts via the NPF Rescue Me application for emergency response at the tab of your button. This app is available on Android and other platforms for public use. Interpol Cyber Crime Reporting Platform at incb.npf.gov.ng is available 24/7. In other words, 24 hours a day. For the reportage of cyber crime related complaints. This includes all offenses provided for by the Cyber Crime Act 2015, including the production and distribution of child pornography. The Nigerian police force has engaged in various deployment of operational assets, including unmanned aerial vehicles, armored personnel carriers, that is APCs, etc., as well as operational personnel from the PMF, CTU, EOD for special operations such as Operation Restore Peace, which has actively decimated major bandit terrorist activities across the nation. Similarly, regular aerial surveillance, patrols, particularly in areas affected by activities of violent criminals, is being massively carried out. Manpower development. The NPF has embarked on a deliberate policy to ensure maximum development of its manpower. This is a realization of the fact that we can only progress when we have a more trained and more retrained police personnel around us. This is evidenced by the recruitment, training, and passing out of effective manpower at both constable cadre from training colleges and schools and the cadets cadre from the Nigerian Police Academy in consonance with the federal government reform agenda. Another set of 1,000 recruits are currently undergoing 6 months training across the 16 colleges, training schools as part of federal government's manpower maximization goal. The recent passing out of 205 ASPs from Police Academy in Wudil and 10,000 police constables from the 16 colleges and training schools across the country is a further boost in this direction. Training and retraining. Understanding the importance of training and retraining to officers remain, the force have engaged in effective partnerships with relevant stakeholders and the Nigerian Police Trust Fund to ensure operational, investigative, and other strategically tailored training programs are being carried out continuously. This is geared at improving the quality of officers and men responsible for enforcement of law and order, as well as the maintenance of public peace in our communities. Discipline. Recently, attention has been placed on the need for professionalism and adherence to the extant laws by police officers in the discharge of our level duties. This has prompted the need to look into the various complaints against the police action via social media and the meting out of sanctions on violators of laws regulating conduct of police officers. The force in recent times has focused much attention to strengthening police citizens' complaints mechanisms to uphold discipline and prevent the resort to self-help by aggrieved citizens using the twin policy of reward and punishment. Furthermore, the Police Public Complaints Committee, PPCC, at the ministerial level is also operational to give citizens additional layers of redress against infraction by unconforming police personnel. The PPCC in the late 2021 embarked on a sensitization campaign targeted at 6 geopolitical zones of the country. I am glad to report that we have covered the Southwest, South-South, North-Central, Northwest, while the one for Northeast is slated to hold in Bauchi State this week, Thursday, 9 September 2022. Specialized units of the force, such as the Force Provost Marshal, IGP Monitoring and Mentoring Unit, Compliance Response Unit, and the Public Complaints Bureau, receive complaints, physically and virtually investigate and sanction officers whose unprofessional conduct negate policing values and negatively impact the drive to smoothen partnership with the citizens. In the past 3 months, a total of 431 complaints against police actions have been received. 304 of these complaints have been resolved, with 81 punishments awarded to erring police officers and men. 7 of these police officers have been dismissed for severe infractions. Meanwhile, 41 officers are undergoing internal disciplinary process to determine their innocence or otherwise. Construction, renovation, and welfare of our police officers. Massive construction of vital structures for the NPL, as well as renovation, remodeling of existing ones, has been a major thrust of the current police leadership. This is due to the fact that if you go around across the country, you will discover that police structures all over the Federation are in serious state of decay, serious state of dilapidation. And that is what informed the police leadership to give special attention to the renovation of our structures. A total of about 198 projects have been completed, while several others are at various stages of completion nationwide. Similarly, existing structures, that is to say barracks, training colleges, schools, etc., have been remodeled in line with contemporary standards. With regards to officers and men welfare, there has been a successful commencement of the federal government-approved new salary structure for the Nigerian Police Force in line with my recommendation to the Federal Executive Council, which was unanimously approved. Tax exemption for junior ranking officers and shift tariffs for all officers and men have been implemented. This is all with the intention of motivating our staff to work harder towards maintenance of peace and security in our dear country. Let me use this opportunity to thank Mr. President, the National Assembly, and the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning for the support and cooperation which they have extended to us in this direction. I also want to use this opportunity to request our police personnel to reciprocate this gesture by dedicating themselves to the service of our dear country so as to maintain peace and security for the good of our country. Acquisition, upgrade of security enablers. There has been a massive acquisition of operational vehicles, gunboats, body armor, uniforms, accoutrements, medical supplies by the Nigerian Police Force. Recently, the Federal Minister of Police Affairs have also supplied some operational assets, vehicles, bulletproof vests, helmets, medical equipment to the Nigerian Police as part of efforts aimed at standardization of its operations across the country. This is a realization of the fact that it's only when you as a police officer is secured that you can make effort to secure others.
And continue to face security challenges. The origin of these challenges, you must all know, preceded our administration. Regardless of what anybody wants to believe or say, whatever it is we are grappling with, insecurity or insecurity, preceded us. And what are these challenges? These are insurgents in the northeast, bandits, in parts of the northwest and north central, militants in the south-south, separatists in the southeast, ritual killers in the southwest. All over the country, we have constant attacks on pipelines, electricity cables, and other critical national infrastructure, crude and refined oil theft, kidnapping for ransom, and farmers' others clashes. The security agencies rose to this challenge and largely degraded the groups and persons constituting the threats. What we face mostly now are flashes of cowardly attacks from the rank of groups that have been routed in one location or the other, moving to another to give the false impression that they are still strong. And I want us to mind this, and that is actually the essence of the scattered nature of their strikes. Our ultimate goal is to eliminate them altogether and restore total and lasting peace over every inch of the Nigerian soil. And take this home, we are going to do, inshallah, by December of this year. Sounding tall, take it home. We are determined to ensure that every inch of the Nigerian soil is safe. That determination is there, the order has been given. We have been doing this, and we continue to do so through the operations of the 4 agencies in the Ministry of Interior. And I will go now enumerating the achievements of each of those 4 agencies in their specific areas of assignment. The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps. Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, whose core mandate is to protect critical national assets and infrastructure, continues to distinguish itself in the area which include but not limited to safeguarding critical national assets and infrastructure, supervision of private guard companies, disaster management, provision of physical security to farmers, farmlands, and other agro-allied investments in the country. The Corps has also commenced a reform process aimed at repositioning the private gas industry for better performance. It is imperative to say that it has been actively involved and is indeed a component part of all the joint task forces we have heard about from the military, from the police, set up to address the insecurity situation in the country. And these operations are Operation Adinkai in the northeast, Operation Sarandaji in the northwest, Operation Was Road in the north central, Operation Awase in the southwest, Operation Python Dance in the southeast, Operation Save Ewu in Plateau, Operation Delta Save in the Niger Delta region, Operation Crocodile Smile in the Niger Delta region, among others. In the course of this operation, from January 2022 till date, the NSCD has made 501 arrests, prosecuted 542 cases, out of which 49 resulted in convictions. It has also destroyed 71 illegal refineries, and just last week, 8 gunboats procured for the agencies, 8 armored gunboats procured for the agencies were commissioned in Waraport, Rivers State, to tackle security challenges to critical national assets and infrastructure in that area, in the littoral region of Nigeria. In its bid to regulate and standardize the operation of private security companies, in this year alone, it has licensed 62 new companies, while 41 applications are still pending. It has sealed 82 companies that did not live up to standards, and unsealed 40 that complied. A total of 587 licenses have been renewed within the same period. The Civil Defense Corps continues to gather intelligence and share with other relevant agencies and institutions. It has also established transport marshals in conjunction with the Ministry of Transportation to provide physical security to transportation infrastructure in aviation sector, road sector, including bus terminals, the rail sector, and marine sector. It's established a special female squad to provide security in school environment in response to government safe school initiative. To boost its manpower, the ministry recently carried out improvement into the civil defense in a very transparent manner, which won plaudits for it across the nation. Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps will continue to work with other security agencies for security, protection, and safety of lives and property of Nigerians. The Nigerian Immigration Service. The core mandate of the Nigerian Immigration Service is border security and not passport administration. Although this also involves ancillary services like the Nigerian passport and visa issuance. The Nigerian Immigration Service has therefore continued to maintain excellent. The Nigerian Immigration Service has therefore continued to maintain excellent security cover across the nation's border lines of over 5,037 kilometers, including the blue littoral borderline. Determined to ensure enhanced migration management and border security, the Nigerian Immigration Service enabled a modern border management tool, the Migration Information and Data Analysis System (MIDAS), across the nation's major airports, sea and land borders. This has enabled the service to maintain robust demographic and psychographic data of all entries into or exit from Nigeria at any given point in time. This has remained very helpful in migration trends, immigration trend analysis, and national security monitoring and planning. Which is linked to the Interpol I-247, NIS is now able to upload reported lost and stolen passports and trace and track cross-border criminals and their activities. It has continued to deploy these assets to aid other sister security agencies, such as the DSS, Defense Intelligence, EFCC, ICPC, NFIU, among others, in fighting crimes. Currently, the Nigerian Immigration Service is actively involved in national border drill exercise. Furthermore, the service is currently deploying e-border facilities across its formation. It has a robust command and control center here in Abuja, equipped with modern IT facilities, which its e-border assets are deployed to remote locations such as Ilela for online and real-time border surveillance. Excuse me. Last year, 2021, total passenger movement across our borders was 1,579,667. This is made up of arrival by land, which is 163,091, air, 993,508, and sea, 195,219. Departure by land was 177,352, by air, 1,093,518, and sea, 88,449. Within the same period, 148,711 applications for Nigerian visas were received, out of which 147,030 were approved, while 1,081 applications were rejected. As part of efforts to improve foreign direct investment, the Nigerian Immigration Service introduced the National Visa Policy Document (NVP) 2020. The policy has, among other interesting features, enabled it to develop biometric visa with some peculiar elements for enhanced data collection from holders. Same last year, The Nigerian Immigration Service issued 1,041,537 standard Nigerian passports to Nigerians at home and abroad that applied for them. It also issued 2,811 official and 895 diplomatic passports, 4,040 emergency travel certificates, and 150 refugee passports. Working with the National Identity Management Commission (NIMC) on passport administration and issuance, the Nigerian Immigration Service has greatly assisted with identity management. Today, details the details of holders of the enhanced passports have been harmonized with their details in the NIMC database in line with the government's single data policy. That is, if you hold our enhanced passports, you are no longer lost in the Nigerian system. Everything about you is in harmony with what is in the NIMC database. Wherever you are, wherever you go, you are located and you are identified. This development has been so helpful in the fight against identity theft and clumsy documentation. You can now track and trace the travel issue of any traveler that has made use of any of our crossing points. The Nigerian Immigration Service has therefore lived up to its bidding in border security and management, deploying the needed personnel and latest technology to speed up the entry of desirable people that will do us good and keep away persons that are likely to cause us any harm. The Nigerian Correctional Service. The core mandate of the Nigerian Correctional Service (NCOS) is safe custody for those legally interned, those that cause of competent relation have had to be kept in custody are meant to be kept safely in our custody. The reformation, rehabilitation, and reintegration of convict serving terms, those are the major and core mandates of the Correctional Service. This makes the Correctional Service the end point in criminal justice administration. The custodial centers are meant to administer.
Technology is not a one-off solution to the current challenges that we have. It's the processes and the approaches to addressing the issues is a combination of using both technology and technology-enabled platforms to be able to address the issues. So, in straightforward answer is to tell you that yes, we are employing technology and indeed increasing our application of technology as we acquire them, increasing their employment in addressing the issues. So, the very direct attacks or operations, both covert and overt, have been enabled by technology. So there is a cascade of technological applications as well as other platforms that have given us the result. So technology, of course, is an enabler for us, and we're grateful that we're increasing in capacity in addressing them. So all the successes, the gains that have been read out by the Honorable Minister of Defense is by virtue of some of the technology-enabled platforms that we've engaged to be able to achieve that. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for checking out SYMFONI on YouTube. Please be sure to subscribe and like our videos for updates.